Once upon a time, there was a wise and good king. He had only one son, a boy named Delevis. Prince Delevis was a clever young man, and the king loved him very much. One day the king called the prince to him and said, "Listen, my son. You will be king after I have died. I want you to be a wise ruler. But you will only be wise if you are happy. And you will only be happy if you marry a good and clever woman. So I want you to travel around my kingdom. Look for the best woman you can find and marry her. Then I am sure you will become a good ruler of our kingdom." So Delevis left his father's house, and he began to travel around the kingdom. He went to every town and every village. He met the daughters of rich men and the daughters of poor men, the daughters of nomads and the daughters of hunters. Some of them were beautiful, but they were stupid. Some were wise, but they were ugly. He couldn't find the perfect girl. He spent many years traveling. He didn't look like a prince anymore. His clothes were old and torn. His shoes were broken. One day the tired prince lay down to rest under a tree. It was the middle of the day, and the sun was high in the sky. His food was finished, and he was very hungry. He fell asleep. When he woke up, he saw a girl. She was looking after her father's sheep. Delevis looked at her. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. He wanted to speak to her, but he couldn't. "What's the matter?" the girl said. "You look hungry. I have only a little bread with me here and you can have it if you like." He took out some bread and gave it to Delevis. He ate it hungrily. "Thank you," he said. The girl started to walk away. Delevis wanted her to stay. "Have you seen my camel?" he said. "No," the girl said. "I haven't seen a camel, but a blind one is passed this way." "Really?" said the prince. "And this camel had no tail." "How do you know?" asked the prince. "And there is a wound on its right side," the girl said. The prince was very surprised. "You haven't seen this camel," he said, "but you have described it perfectly. How did you do it?" "Oh, it was easy," the girl said. "Look at this bush. A camel has been eating the leaves, but it has only eaten from one side. This probably means that it's blind in one eye. And do you see this camel dung? It's all together in one pile, but camels move their tails when they drop their dung. When a camel has a tail, the dung falls in different places." "But what about the wound on the camel's right side?" asked Delevis. "How did you know about that?" "Look here in the sand," said the girl. "A camel has been rolling here, but it has only rolled on its left side. This means that its right side must be wounded. I've found the girl I'm looking for at last." The prince said to himself. "Please," he said to the girl, "tell me your name." "My name is Hariri," she said. "And what is your father's name?" "Nakrusa." "Where does your family live? Where can I find them?" "Down there," said Hariri, and she pointed to the village in the distance. "I'll come back very soon," the prince said, "and speak to your family. But first I must go home. I must tell my father. I've found the girl I want to marry." Delevis hurried back to his father's house. "Father," he said, "I've found her. She's the wisest and most beautiful girl in your kingdom." His father smiled. "That's good, my son. But don't be in a hurry. Find out more about the girl. Meet her family. Talk to them." Delevis began the journey back to Hariri's village. On the way, he met Nakrusa, Hariri's father. "Let's walk together," he said to the old man. "Very well," Nakrusa said. It was a long way to the village. The path was rough and stony, and the sun was hot. Nakrusa and Delevis walked together but they didn't speak. At last, Delevis said, "The journey is too long and we are both tired. Let's make it easier. Why don't you carry me? Or if you like, I will carry you." Then the time will pass more quickly. Necrusa looked at Delevis, but he didn't say anything. What a crazy idea. He thought, what a stupid young man. They walked on, but they still didn't speak. After a while, they passed some young men. They were looking after a herd of 100 cows. "Old man," said the prince. "Who do these cows belong to?" "They belong to my cousin," said Necrusa. "He's a very rich man." "Rich?" The prince laughed. "No, he must be poor. I'm sure he's a poor man. I'm sorry for him." Necrusa shook his head. What a strange young man, he thought. He's sorry for a man who has 100 cows. A little later they passed another herd of cattle. There were 10 cows and 1 bull. "Whose cattle are these?" Delevis asked. "Oh, they belong to my neighbor," said Necrusa. "He's only a poor man." "Poor?" said the prince. "I don't think so. I think he's rich." "Yes, he's certainly a rich man. This young man is crazy," Necrusa thought. They walked on over the hills until they came to a valley. There was a field of wheat in the valley. It was already yellow and ready for the harvest. "Is this wheat free so that travelers can eat it?" asked Delevis. "Free?" said Necrusa. "What do you mean free? Of course it isn't free. It belongs to the farmer." "I don't understand this boy at all," he said to himself. The sun was going down now. It was nearly evening. At last they could see the village in the distance. Some people were coming out of the village. They were carrying the body of a dead man. They were taking him to the cemetery. "Who was died?" Delevis asked Necrusa. "Who was this man?" "He was a good old man," Necrusa answered. "I knew him well." "And will his name be buried with him?" asked Delevis. "Or will his name live on?" How stupid, Necrusa thought. The poor man is dead. Of course his name dies with him. It won't be used again. He said nothing. He walked on towards his house and Delevis followed him. The prince and Necrusa came to Necrusa's hut. The old man turned round to Delevis. He wanted to say goodbye. But the prince had already followed him into his compound. Necrusa was tired of Delevis. He wanted him to go away. But now the young man was his guest. He had to welcome him. So he went into his hut and brought out a mat. He put it on the ground and Delevis sat down on it. Hariri was inside the hut. She was cooking the evening meal. "Listen, daughter," Necrusa said to her. "We have a very strange guest. A crazy young man has followed me all day. He's come to the village with me and now he's here in my compound. Take him some water so that he can wash his feet." So Hariri took some water and went out to wash Delevis's feet. He was very happy when he saw her. She smiled at him and his heart jumped. She was even more beautiful than before. "Why don't you put your feet on the mat?" she asked him. "Look, they're on the dirty ground." "But my feet are still dirty," Delevis answered. "You haven't washed them yet. If I put them on the mat now, the mat will get dirty too." So Hariri washed his feet. When they were clean, he put them on the mat. Hariri went back into the hut to find her father. "This young man isn't crazy at all," she said. "Yes he is," said Necrusa. "Do you know what he said to me on the road? 'Let's make the journey easier,' he said. 'Why don't you carry me, or if you like, I'll carry you.' Wasn't that stupid? How can I, an old man, carry a big young man like him?" "But father," Hariri said, "you don't understand. He meant that the journey was long and boring. He wanted to make it interesting. When he said, 'Why don't you carry me,' he meant, 'Why don't you tell me a story?' And when he said, 'Or if you like, I'll carry you,' he meant, 'Or if you like, I'll tell you a story.' In that way, you could help each other along the road." Well anyway, said Necruz, that wasn't the only thing. We passed a big herd of 100 cows. Who do these cows belong to? He asked me. He must be a poor man. Poor? A man with 100 cows is rich. Then later we passed a small herd of 10 cows and 1 bull. Who do these belong to? Oh, he must be a rich man. Now, isn't that crazy? No, father, Hariri said. He's right. The man with 100 cows is rich now, but he won't be rich for long. If he doesn't have a bull, his cows will never give birth to calves. After a while they will all die and he'll be poor again. But the man who has a bull as well as 10 cows will soon be rich. His cows will all have calves. He'll have more and more cattle every year. You haven't heard it all, Necruz said. We passed a field of wheat. Is this wheat free so that travelers can eat it? This stupid boy asked me. Free, I said. Of course it isn't free. It belongs to the farmer. Only he can eat it. But father, said Hariri, who is the farmer? Is he a generous man? Does he give food to the guests and travelers who come to his hut? Yes, said Necruz. I know the man. He's a good man. He's always kind to guests and travelers. And does he ask them to pay for their food? Asked Hariri. Of course he doesn't, Necruz answered. What kind of man asks his guests to pay for their food? Then the young man was right, Hariri said. The wheat is free. Travelers can eat it without paying. Well, perhaps, Necruz said. But listen to this. While we were coming into the village, we passed a funeral. A crowd of people were taking a dead man to the cemetery. And do you know what this poor fool said? Will his name be buried with him, or will it be used again? Oh, said Hariri. That's easy to understand. He was asking you if the man had a son. The father's name lives on in his son. It's not buried with him. It's used again and again. Necruz was tired of talking to his daughter. He went to talk to her uncles. My daughter's crazy, he said. You have seen that strange young man sitting outside my hut. He asks all kinds of stupid questions, but my daughter likes him. Does she? Said Hariri's uncles. That's good. Your daughter isn't a child now. She must get married soon. Why don't you let her marry him? He looks like a good man to us. Oh, very well, said Necruz. But it's all so strange. I can't understand it at all. They're both crazy. Hariri heard her uncles and her father. He's very happy. He's so handsome, she said to herself. And so clever. He's the best young man I've ever seen. Delevis was still sitting outside the hut on the mat. He heard Hariri's words. He was very, very happy. The wedding was soon arranged. Delevis hurried back to his father, the king. Hariri is a wonderful girl, he said. The best girl in all Afar. I'm very happy for you, my son, the king said. Send camels and cattle for the feast. Take some servants and all my armed men. Go to her house and marry her. Then bring her back to the palace. Oh, no, father, said the prince. She doesn't know that I'm the king's son. I don't want to tell her yet. I won't take any armed men with me. When I go to her house, I'll take only one servant. She'll think I'm a poor man. If she marries me, I'll know she really loves me. The king smiled. Very well, my son, he said. Go, but come back soon. I want to meet my new daughter. It was a long way from the king's house to Necruz's village. The prince and his servant started their journey early in the morning. But they walked all day. The sun rose higher and higher in the sky. It became hotter and hotter. I'm very hot and very, very thirsty. Delevis said, I must have a drink. That's all right, sir. The servant said, look, we're coming to a waterhole. You'll find some water there. They came to the waterhole and Delevis looked down into it. The hole was deep. The water was a long way down. "Climb down and fill my water bottle." Delevis said to his servant, "Oh no, sir, I can't do that." The servant said, "I don't want to fall and break my neck." So Delevis climbed into the waterhole himself. He drank the cool, clean water and filled his bottle. Then he looked up at his servant. "Pull me up," he shouted. But the servant laughed at him. "Pull you up," he said. "Why? You fool, I'm going to be the master now." He picked up a big stone and lifted it above his head. "He's going to throw it down and kill me," thought Delevis. "Wait a minute," he shouted. "Don't kill me. You'll never escape. Someone will soon find my body. They'll tell my father and he'll send his men to kill you. I've got a better idea." The servant put the stone down. "What do you mean a better idea?" he said. "We'll change our clothes," said Delevis. "You take my clothes and I'll take yours. You can be the master and I'll be the servant." The servant laughed. "That's a stupid idea," he said. "If I pull you out of the waterhole, you'll kill me." "I know you will." "I won't kill you, I promise," said the prince. "And I won't tell anyone that you're my servant." The servant picked up the stone again. "I don't believe you," he said. "Get ready to die." "Very well," the prince said. "But don't you want to marry the most beautiful girl in Afar? How will you find her father's house?" "Only I know the way." The servant thought for a moment. "Do you really promise?" he said. "You won't kill me. You'll be my servant and I'll be your master." "Yes," answered Delevis. "You know me, I always keep my promises." "All right," the servant said. And he pulled Delevis out of the waterhole. They changed their clothes. The prince took the servants and the servant took the prince's. Then they walked on along the road. At last they came to Necruz's village. Everything was ready for the wedding. The women were cooking a wonderful feast. Guests were arriving. People were singing and dancing. Herweary couldn't wait to see the face of her dear Delevi. She looked out of her hut, but there was the servant, dressed in Delevis's clothes. "This man isn't my husband," she said. "I've never seen him before." "Don't be a fool," her father said. "Look at his clothes, his dagger and his shoes. He was wearing them when he came here before." "But my husband is a clever man," said Herweary. "This man looks like a fool, let me ask him some questions." "Oh, very well," Necruz said. "But be quick, the guests are waiting. The wedding must begin." So Herweary came out of her hut and spoke to the servant. "Tell me," she said, "what is the heaviest thing a man can carry?" The servant frowned. "The heaviest thing," he said. Let me think, a camel's heavy." "No, a fallen tree is heavy." "Ah, I know. A grinding stone." "Yes, a grinding stone is the heaviest thing." Herweary looked behind the servant. Who is that man standing under the tree, she wondered. "Here's my next question," she said. "What is the sweetest food in the world?" "The sweetest food," the servant said. "The sweetest food. Yes, I know the answer. The sweetest food is honey." Herweary was watching the man under the tree. He was coming towards her now. "I have one more question," she said to the servant. "What is the most beautiful smell in the world?" The servant shook his head. "What a stupid question," he said. "Flowers have the sweetest smell, everyone knows that." Delevis was standing behind his servant now. He smiled at Herweary. "This man says he's my husband," said Herweary. "He's a fool, his answers are stupid." Necruso was very angry. "Daughter," he said, "what are you saying? Look, the wedding guests are here, the feast is ready. Take this man, he is your husband." "Please father," Herweary said, "I can't marry a fool. Let me talk to his servant." She looked at Delevis. Did you hear my questions? She asked him. Yes, said Delibes. And here are my answers. Your first question was, what is the heaviest thing a man can carry? My answer is a promise. A promise is a very, very heavy thing. For me, just now, it's the heaviest thing in the world. Next, you asked, what is the sweetest food? I know the answer to that question. I was alone once in the desert. I had no food. I nearly died of hunger. Then I met a girl. She gave me a piece of dry bread. It was the sweetest food in the world because I was so hungry. Your third question was this, what is the most beautiful smell? I can answer that one too. It is the smell of the skin on the neck of your baby son. I don't have a son yet. But one day, God willing, he will give me a wife. And one day, God willing, she will give me a son. Hariri laughed and clapped her hands. Did you hear that, father? She said, this man is my husband. But he's only a servant, Nakrusa said. I'm tired of all this nonsense, Hariri. I'm your father. You must obey me. Marry the master, not the servant. Hariri went and stood beside Delibes. Master or servant, this is the man I will marry, she said. The servant was frightened when he heard this. He fell down on his knees. Oh please, please forgive me, he said to Delibes. I was a fool. Don't tell the king your father. The king? Your father is the king? Nakrusa said to Delibes. My dear boy, this is wonderful. Hariri, my child, you are right, of course, this is the right man for you. I always knew you were a clever girl. You're going to marry a prince. Where are the singers? Is the food ready? Let the marriage begin. The wedding was a happy one. Everyone ate and sang and danced. Only Delibes's servant wasn't happy. He went out of Nakrusa's compound and ran away. They never saw him again. The next day, Delibes and Hariri began the journey back to the king's house. Everyone there was very happy to see them. The king liked his daughter-in-law at once. My son, you have chosen well, he said to Delibes. Now I know that one day you will be a wise and happy ruler. After a year, Hariri had a son. Delibes was very happy. He took his son in his arms. He smelled the skin on the baby's neck. It was the sweetest smell in the world for him. Hariri smiled at him. I have given you a son. She said, now I want you to give me a promise. Yes, of course, said Delibes. What is it? I'm always frightened when you go out at night. Hariri said, there are bad men in the town and the wadi is the most dangerous place. Please don't go to the wadi in the evening when the people and the animals have returned to the town. Promise me. I promise, said Delibes. And so Delibes and Hariri lived happily for many years. They had 7 sons and 7 daughters. The old king died, and Delibes became king. He was a wise and good ruler. The years passed. One day, when Delibes and Hariri were old, a servant came to Delibes. The camels have returned from the wadi, he said, but one of them is lost. Delibes forgot his promise to Hariri. I'll go myself and look for it, he said. It was dark outside. There was only a half moon in the sky. Everything was quiet. There was nobody at the wadi now. Everyone was at home in their own houses. Suddenly 4 men jumped out from behind a tree. Give us your money, shouted one. Give us your clothes, shouted another. The third man came close to Delibes and looked at his face. Let him go, he said to the others. Is the king? What? The fourth man said, yes, quick, let him go. But the first 2 robbers laughed. Let him go, they said. Are you crazy? He'll send his soldiers after us. They'll catch us and kill us. No, we must kill him now. They began to argue with each other. Kill him, the first 2 robbers said. Let him go, said the others. The first two robbers were the strongest. "We must kill you," they said to the king. "We want to save our own lives." "Give me one last wish before I die," the king said. "Very well," said the robbers. "What is it?" "Go to my house," Delibes asked them, "tell my wife that you saw me near the wadi. Say to her, there's a black cow in my herd of cattle. Its horns are too long, it will put out the eyes of the other cows. Take it out of the herd." "Is that all?" asked the third robber. "No," answered the king. "Tell her this. There's a black mat on the roof of my house. Take it away. Put a white mat there in its place." "Is there anything else?" said the fourth robber. "Yes," Delibes answered. "I have 4 camels. Tell my wife to keep 2 of them. But tell her to let 2 of them go." "Have you finished now?" the first robber said. "Yes," said Delibes. "Then you must die," the first robber said. And so the robbers killed Delibes. They took his body and threw it under a tree. "Come on," the first 2 robbers said. "We must run away." "No," said the third and fourth robbers. "We must take the king's message to his wife. We promised." "Are you crazy?" the first robber said. "She'll know that we killed him. Her sons will kill us. But she doesn't know that he's dead." The third robber said. "Nobody knows that he's dead." So the 4 robbers went to Delibes's house. They asked to see the queen. She was talking with her 7 sons. They were all carrying spears. The first robber walked boldly up to the queen. "I have a message for you," he said. "From your husband, the king." "Where did you meet him?" Hariri asked. "At the wadi," the robber answered. The queen put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes opened wide and she looked at the robbers. Her sons moved towards her. "Is my husband well?" she asked. "He's fine," laughed the robber. "We left him under a tree. He'll be home soon." "And what was his message?" Hariri asked. The first robber told her the words of the king. When he finished, Hariri said to her sons, "Catch these men." "Why?" her eldest son asked. "They have only brought some messages from our father." The robbers were already running out of the compound. "Quick, quick, don't let them escape," shouted Hariri. Her 7 sons ran after the robbers and caught them. They brought them back to the queen. She was crying. "What's the matter, mother?" her eldest son asked. "Didn't you understand your father's message?" said Hariri. "Listen. This is what it means. Take the black cow out of the herd of cattle," he said. "It will put out the eyes of the other cows. This means that your father doesn't want the crows to eat his eyes. He wants us to bury his body." "You mean our father's dead?" her sons asked. "Yes," said Hariri. "This is his second message. Take away the black mat on the roof. Put a white one there. He is dead and he wants me to put white clothes on for him. It was these men who killed my father," shouted one of the sons. And all of them lifted their spears. "Wait," said Hariri. "There was one more message. Keep 2 of my camels," your father said. "But let 2 of them go." This means that 2 of these men killed him, but 2 tried to save his life. The robbers fell down onto the ground. "You know everything," the first robber said. "You're right. It was my friend and I who killed the king. These 2 men tried to save him." "Kill the murderers," shouted the brothers, and they killed the first 2 robbers with their spears and daggers. Then the third and fourth robbers took Hariri and her sons to the wadi. They found the body of Delibes and brought him home. Hariri put on white clothes and her sons buried their father. He was a great king, all the people said. Why? Because he was married to a good and clever woman. It was a beautiful morning. Children were playing happily in the village streets. The women were washing clothes in the river and singing songs about lazy husbands. The great chief listened to the two men sitting in front of him. "Great chief, the man next to me is a thief," said the older man. "Is that really so?" replied the great chief. "Then tell me, what did he steal from you?" "One of my sheep," answered the old man. "And what is your answer to that?" the great chief asked the younger man. "Why steal sheep?" "Great chief," replied the young man, "I have lots of them. If I need more sheep, I buy them. I don't steal them from other people. Here's the thief. Not me." The great chief looked at the farm mountains and smiled. Then he looked at both men. Was the young one lying? He wasn't sure. But the old man didn't have the look of a thief. This was a difficult problem. He wasn't going to find the answer in just a few minutes. But the great chief liked problems like this more than any other. It took some time to find the answer. People came to him from very far away to ask him to be the judge of their problems. The great chief liked this also. "I have a question for both of you," said the great chief. "The person who finds the solution will keep the sheep. Go home and think about this question. And come back only when you know the answer. What's the fastest thing in the world? Don't come back until you have the solution." The two men left the great chief's house. The old man was sad. How could he find the answer to such a difficult question? When he got home, he told the question to his daughter, Zia. She was a beautiful, happy woman who liked helping others. She was young, but she was also very wise. "I know the answer, father," she said. "It's time." The old man went back to the great chief's house. The great chief was surprised. "You're back again. Not even 1 hour has passed. And you already have an answer to my question." "Yes, great chief," replied the old man. "It wasn't so difficult. So tell me, what is the fastest thing in the world?" "Time," answered the old man. "It always goes too fast. There's never enough time for all the things that we want to do. And when we want more time to do something, it goes faster. It goes faster." The great chief was surprised. The old man's answer was even better than his solution. "Who helped you to find the answer? Who gave you these words?" asked the great chief. "There are my words," said the old man. "No one helped me. If that's not true, I'll punish you," said the great chief. The old man was too afraid to go on with his story. "It was my daughter, Zia. She's a very wise young woman. And she gave me the words," he said. "She must be very wise," thought the great chief. "Very well," he said. "You have found the answer. And so, you shall keep the ship. And now that this is all finished, I think that I'd like to meet your daughter." The next day, the old man brought his daughter, Zia, to meet the great chief. They sat at the great chief's table and had a big lunch. Chicken, rice, fruit, and a drink made from palm juice. During lunch, they talked about the young man who stole the sheep. And about how difficult it was to be a good judge. The great chief enjoyed the lunch very much. While he talked about this and that with Zia, he felt so happy that he wanted to sing and dance. Was it the palm juice drink? Or the wise and beautiful young woman looking into his eyes? But time always passes too fast. And soon, it was time for them to leave. The great chief saw Zia every day. And his love for her grew and grew. "You're a wise and beautiful woman. I'd really like to marry you," He said, "Me too," replied Zia, laughing. And so they married. The great chief was very happy. But he was also worried about having a wise wife. He didn't want her to help him with the problems that people brought him. He liked being the great chief who was a wise wife. He didn't want people to start talking about the great chief's very wise wife. "Everything in my house belongs to you," he said to her, the day after they were married. "But I ask only one thing from you. Never try to help with the problems that people bring me. If you do not want to be a good judge, you'll stop being my wife. I'm saying this to you only once." Zia listened without looking at the great chief. When he finished, she smiled. Zia and her husband were happy and life went well for a time. The great chief listened to people's problems as before. Zia was busy with the house and the animals. In the evenings, he told her about the problems of the day and she usually agreed with his answers. But one day, two little boys went to see the great chief about a cow. Each boy said that it was his cow. The great chief gave them a very difficult question to answer. Zia knew which boy was telling the truth because she often saw him in the fields with the family's cow. When he walked past her that afternoon, he was crying. Zia spoke to him. "Tell me, little boy, what's the matter?" she asked him. "The great chief gave us a question that I can never answer." He said sadly, "What did he ask you?" His question was, "What's the biggest thing in the world?" Zia knew that she mustn't help the boy. But the answer was easy for her and very difficult for him. And he was telling the truth about the cow. "Go back to the great chief now," said Zia. "Tell him the answer in these words. It is there. Air is all around us. When we walk in front of us, there is only air and more air. When we look up at the sky, there is air as far as we can see." The little boy went to see the great chief. He said the same words that Zia told him. This time, the great chief wasn't surprised. He was very angry. "Who helped you find this answer?" he shouted. "These words are too wise for a young boy. Who gave them to you?" "They are my words, great chief," said the boy. "No one helped me to find the answer. If this isn't the truth, I'll punish you," said the great chief. The boy was afraid. "It was your wife, Zia," he said in the end. The great chief was very angry with his wife. That evening, he spoke to her. "Didn't I tell you that everything which I have belongs to you? You have done the one thing, the only thing that I asked you not to do. Now, take what belongs to you and go back to your father's home. Before I go, can I make you one last meal?" asked the woman. "Then, I'll take what belongs to me and go." "Yes," answered the great chief. "Make what you want to eat. Take what you want to take. Just be sure that you're not still here tomorrow." Zia said, "I'm not sure." Zia cooked the great chief's favorite meal, chicken with rice and vegetables. While he ate, she gave him a strong drink made from palm juice. She gave him many cups of it. At the end of the meal, the great chief lay down and slept. With her family's help, Zia carried the great chief to her father's home. They put him on a bed and he stayed in a deep sleep all night. In the morning, a great voice woke everyone in the house. "Where am I? What am I doing here?" shouted the great chief. Zia ran into the room, laughing. "You said that I could take anything that I wanted from your house. I wanted you. And so I took you. You are truly wise." Smiled the great chief. "Come. Let's go back to our home together." Only a stupid man would send away so wise a woman. And you, my great chief, are not a stupid man, said his clever wife. Once, there was a woman with 3 sons. Tom, Bob, and Jack. Tom was the youngest. Bob came next, and Jack was the oldest. They lived in a village. They were happy, but their mother was very poor. So, the boys looked for work. Tom worked for a kind man in the next town. The man made tables and other things from wood. Tom worked very hard for 1 year. When the year ended, the kind man gave him a table. It looked old and dirty, but it was a magic table. Say to the table, "I am hungry." Then wonderful food will appear on it by magic, said the man, with a smile. You are very kind, said Tom to the man, and he left. He went from country to country and from city to city, and he was always happy. He carried his table on his back. When he wanted food, he put the table down in the street by a river under a tree. He said to the table, "I am hungry," and lovely food appeared. Some months later, he thought, "I would like to see my mother. I'll go home." On the last night of his journey to his mother's house, he came to an old house. An old man lived there. "Can I stay the night here?" he asked the old man. "Yes, you can stay here, but I can't give you any food," said the old man. "Don't give me any food," Tom said. "You can eat with me." Then he put down his table and said, "I am hungry." Wonderful food appeared, and they ate it. Now this man was not a good man. He was a jealous man. "I want this boy's table," he thought. "It will give me food. I can sell the food to other people. I will never be hungry again." When Tom was asleep that night, the old man took the magic table from Tom's room. He worked all night and made a new table. It looked the same. He put it next to Tom's bed. The next morning, Tom put the new table on his back and he walked to his mother's house. Tom's mother was very happy when she saw her youngest son. "What did you do when you were away?" she asked. "I made tables," said Tom, "and I have a table here." "It's not a very nice table," said his mother. "But it's a magic table," answered Tom. "When I say to it, 'I am hungry,' beautiful food appears on it." "Show me," said his mother. "Let's invite our friends from the village. Then everybody can see the magic," said Tom. Tom's mother invited everybody from the village. Tom put his table down in front of them and said, "I am hungry." But nothing happened. No wonderful food appeared on the table. Everybody laughed and went away. Tom was very angry. He knew now the old man had his magic table. Tom was very unhappy. He ran away from home and went back to his old job. He wrote to his brother, Jack. His letter told the story of the magic table and the jealous old man. Bob, the second brother, worked with a friendly man in a village many kilometers away. Bob worked very hard for 1 year. When the year ended, the man gave Bob a donkey. "You can't sit on this donkey," the man said. "But it is a good donkey. It's very small." "Why is it a good donkey?" asked Bob. "Because it's a magic donkey," answered the man. "Put a box under its mouth. Say the magic word, bricklebat, and gold will suddenly fall from its mouth. Catch the gold in the box. You will never be poor." "You are very kind," Bob said to the man. Bob went from country to country and from city to city, and he was always happy. He took the donkey with him. He bought the most expensive clothes and ate the most wonderful food. He stayed in the best houses. When he wanted more money, he said, "Bricklebat to the donkey." Some months later, Bob thought, "I would like to see my mother. I'll go home." On the last night of his journey, he came to the old house. The jealous old man was there. "Can I stay the night here?" he asked. "Yes, you can stay here, but I want money for your food and your bed." Money? Cried Bob. You can have a lot of money. Bob ate lovely food at Tom's table. The old man asked for some money. Bob put his hand in his coat, but there was nothing in it. Wait, said Bob. I'll get some. He took a box and went outside to the donkey. The old man followed him to the door. He stood behind the door, and Bob did not see him. Where is his money? The old man thought, I'll watch him. When he's asleep, I'll take his money. Bob put the box under the donkey's mouth. He said the magic word. The gold fell into the box. The old man's mouth opened wider and wider. I want that donkey, he thought. Later that night, when Bob was asleep, the old man went outside. He found another donkey. And put it in the place of the magic donkey. The next morning, Bob took the new donkey and walked to his mother's house. Bob's mother was very happy when she saw her son. What did you do when you were away? She asked. I worked for a man, said Bob, and he gave me this donkey. It's a very small donkey, said his mother. Is it strong? No, answered Bob, but it's a magic donkey. When I say the magic word, gold falls from its mouth. Call your friends, let's show them. Everybody came from the village. Now watch this, said Bob. Ricklebat. Everybody looked at the donkey. The donkey looked at them. Nothing happened. No gold fell from its mouth. Everybody laughed, and Bob was very angry. He knew now the old man had his magic donkey. He ran away from home and went back to his old job. He wrote to his brother, Jack. His letter told the story of the magic donkey and the jealous old man. Jack worked with a woodcutter. He worked very hard for 1 year. When the year ended, the woodcutter gave Jack a beautiful box. There was a stick inside it. Thank you for the beautiful box, said Jack, but I don't want the stick. I'll put something prettier than a stick in this lovely box. It's a magic stick, said the woodcutter. When somebody is unkind to you, the stick will help you. You say stick out of the box. The stick will jump out of the box, and it will hit them. When you say stick back in the box, it will stop hitting them. Jack took the box and started his journey home. On the last night of his journey, he came to the old house. The jealous old man was there. He gave Jack some food. Then Jack told him about his journey. Do you know, said Jack, that there is a magic table? You say I am hungry to the table. Then wonderful food appears on it. And there is a magic donkey. You say bricklebat to it, and gold falls from its mouth. But I have something better than the magic table or the magic donkey in this box. Nothing in the world is as good as this. What is it? Thought the jealous old man. I want it. When Jack went to bed, he put the box on the floor. He shut his eyes. After some time, the old man came into Jack's room. He looked at Jack. Quietly, he put his hand on the box. Suddenly Jack jumped out of bed. Stick out of the box, he cried. The stick hit the jealous old man on his head and arms and back. The old man wanted to run away, but he couldn't. Give me the magic table. Hand the magic donkey. Then I will put the stick back in the box, said Jack. Yes, yes, cried the old man. You can have them. Stop the stick. Stop the stick. The next day Jack took the table, the donkey, and the stick, and he walked to his mother's house. Jack's mother was very happy when she saw her son. What did you do when you were away? She asked. I worked with a woodcutter, said Jack. He gave me the stick. A stick, cried his mother angrily. Why did he give you a stick? You can get a stick from every tree in the world. Yes, said Jack. But this is a magic stick. When somebody is unkind to me, I say stick out of the box. It jumps out of the box and hits them. It only stops when I say stick back in the box. My brothers had a magic table and a magic donkey. A jealous old man took them. With this stick, I got them back again. Jack's mother was very happy. She wrote to Tom and Bob and told them the story. They came home. She invited everybody from the village to their house. Everybody sat around the magic table and ate wonderful food. Everybody took home a bag of gold from the magic donkey's mouth. From that day, the old woman and her 3 sons lived very happily. Don't waste time by comparing yourself to others. God made each of us different and beautiful.
The report. Lee sat among the books at the library and thought about his group project. They had to turn it in soon, but he hadn't even started his part. Jack and Claire were in his group. They had worked hard. They were also very smart, and Lee didn't want them to get a bad grade. Jack did the report. He wrote a lot of very good sentences and described things with great adjectives. Claire drew a nice map of the stars. Now, Lee needed to do his part of the project. Well, I suppose I need to start my model, Lee thought. Making a model of a planet was really hard. Lee tried to read several books, but he couldn't comprehend any of the charts. We're going to fail because of me, Lee said. He put his head down on the table and said, I wish I could see a planet, instead of having to read about it. Suddenly, there was a bright light. Lee was pulled from his chair, through the roof, and right into a strange ship. Hello, kid, said an alien. Did you ask for help? Lee told the friendly alien all about his project. The alien agreed to help Lee solve his problem. First, we'll fly through space to view the universe. Then, I can help you make a model of my planet. Soon, they were going through the clouds. They passed the moon. Then they viewed Mars. Lee was very excited. Instead of a bad grade, his group would have the best project ever. It's time to go home, the alien finally said. On the way back, he helped Lee make a model of the planet Mars. Soon, they were on Earth. Thanks, Lee said. My model will be awesome. Then he took his model and said goodbye to his new friend. Alien. An alien is a creature from a different world. The alien came in peace. Among. If you are among certain things, they are all around you. There was a red apple among the green ones. Chart. A chart is a list of information. We used a chart to see how we had improved. Cloud. A cloud is a group of water drops in the sky. The sky was filled with white clouds. Comprehend. To comprehend something is to understand it. Henry could not comprehend the message. Describe. To describe is to say or write what someone or something is like. They described their tree as colorful with gold ribbon and a star. Ever. Ever means at any time. Going skiing last winter was the most fun I've ever had. Fail. To fail means you do not succeed in what you try to do. Since he failed to get the job, he was sad. Friendly. Friendly is behaving in a pleasant, kind way towards someone. The friendly animals came up to the girl. Grade. A grade is a score or mark given to someone's work. I managed to get good grades on my report card. Instead. Instead means in place of. He ate the carrot instead of the ice cream. Library. A library is a place where you go to read books. The library at school is full of books. Planet. A planet is a large round thing in space. Saturn is the planet with the ring around it. Report. A report is something students write for school. Karen had trouble writing her report. Several. Several is more than two but not many. He had to read several books for class. Solve. To solve something is to find an answer to it. All the students could easily solve the math problem. Suddenly. If something happens suddenly, it happens quickly and unexpectedly. I was suddenly surprised by the cake my friends brought me. Suppose. To suppose is to guess. I suppose I should go home now. Universe. The universe is the known or supposed objects in space. The universe is so large that it cannot be measured. View. To view is to look at something. Michael likes to view himself in the mirror.
Welcome to English with Ollie.
I go to London. Hello. My name is Sam. I am a student of English. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life in London. I want to tell you about my fantastic teacher. You can read my story. You can learn English with me. It is a beautiful summer day. I am traveling on a train. Two women are on the train with me. The women sit opposite me. The women speak English. I don't understand much. I study English, but I am a beginner. I don't know many words. I start to speak to the women. I say some words in my basic English. The women understand what I want to say. I am happy. I say that I want to learn English. The women tell me that they are from England. They go home from a conference. Our conversation is 10 minutes long. The next station is my station. I say goodbye. The women give me their address and phone number. They tell me that I can visit them in England. Then we say goodbye. After this meeting, I work on my English every day. I translate texts, and I watch films in English. In 6 months, my English is much better. It is good, but I want to know more. I go to London. I want to study English in London. When I am in London, I go to a school. My first lesson is on Monday. I meet my teacher and other students in the class. My teacher is a young lady. She is very nice. We say our names. We say where we are from. Then the lesson starts. Our teacher has a question for us. She wants to know how we study English. Our teacher says that she can teach us a very effective method to learn English. This method is very simple. Our teacher tells us that we don't have to study. We don't have to read textbooks. But we have to use English a lot. It is very good for me. I don't like studying, and I don't like textbooks. Then we speak about what is important when we learn a new language. Our teacher tells us we need languages for communication. Languages help us say ideas and understand ideas. So when you learn a new language, the best method is to use the language for communication. And this is what we will do in our course. We will speak a lot. Many students try to remember new words. They also study grammar rules. And these students don't use English for speaking. They study about the language, but they don't use the language. Of course, you need to learn new words and new grammar. But you don't have to study them. In this course, I want to show you a very simple and effective method. How to learn words and grammar. I like what our teacher says. Our lesson continues. We speak about our hobbies and what we do in our free time. We speak in pairs or with our teacher. We speak all the lesson. I like it. I am really happy. This system of learning is very good for me. Chapter 2. How I learn words. I go to school on Tuesday again. One of the students asks a question which is interesting for me. She asks, what is the best way to learn new words? Our teacher says, there are many things you can do to learn new words. I will tell you what is statistically the most effective way for learning new words. It is reading. When people read, when they learn a new language, they learn twice as fast as people who don't read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. I want to show you what you should do if you want to get the maximum profit from reading. First, it is very important that the book or text which you read is interesting for you. It is important that you enjoy reading. The book can be a nice story or it can have some useful information for your job or your hobby. Don't read a text which isn't interesting for you. It is also good to read a text in which you know most of the words. When you don't know many words, you can get frustrated. You always want to enjoy everything you do while using English. It is good to choose a text which is interesting and also okay for your level. When you read the text and you see a word which you don't understand, you take a dictionary and you look at the word in the dictionary. Then you continue reading. You don't have to write the word anywhere. You don't have to make a list of new words. You don't have to try to remember the word. You only concentrate on understanding the text. When it is clear to you what the word means, you continue reading. Anytime there is a new word for you, you do the same. Reading also has another great advantage. When you read, you learn new words and you also learn how every word is connected to other words. In the sentence, you can see how to link the words correctly. This way of learning new words is very effective. Try it and you will see how fast you can learn new words. Then we continue with the lesson. We speak about the situation in England and about the best jobs for students. This is good for me because I want to have a job. I want to do something after my school. I ask other students if they know where I can find a job. They tell me that I should go to a job center. The job center offers a lot of jobs for students. This is good for me. I am happy that I know where I can find a job. When my day at school is finished, I go to the job center. I don't know what jobs I can do, so I ask the lady at the job center what the best job for a student is. The lady tells me that they have some good jobs for students. She tells me that I can be a cleaner or waiter in a cafe. I tell the lady that I have no experience with these jobs. She tells me that my English is good enough to work at the cafe. The training is not difficult and I can have more chances to speak English than being a cleaner. She tells me that I can start my job on Thursday. It is all good for me. I'm happy that I have a job where I can practice English. When you want to learn new words effectively, read for 30 minutes every day. Chapter 3. How I learn pronunciation. On Wednesday, I go to school again. There is one student in the class who is more quiet than the other students. He is from South Korea. When our teacher asks if we have any questions for her, this student from Korea says that he has a question. He says that he has a big problem with pronunciation. He knows that his pronunciation is not very good, but he doesn't know how to improve it. He doesn't speak much because he doesn't want others to listen to his bad pronunciation. He says that he reads and watches films in English a lot. He understands very well, but he also wants to improve his speaking. He asks if there is something he could do to be better at pronunciation. When my teacher hears this, she says, "Okay, I will tell you something about pronunciation. And how to practice it. I will also teach you a great technique which can help all of you to be better at pronunciation." First, we have to look at why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we have to move our mouth. We have to use muscles in our mouth. We all do that. The problem is that when you speak English, Sometimes you use your muscles the same way. You would use them in your native language. Then your pronunciation is different from the pronunciation of native speakers. This happens to many students who learn English. Almost everybody has a little different pronunciation than they should have. In fact, it is not a big problem because usually people understand what you want to say, even if your pronunciation is not perfect. However, you can work on your pronunciation and make it better. There's a great technique which can help you a lot. The name of this technique is shadowing. The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you simply copy the sound which you hear. When children learn their first language, they learn it by copying. They copy after their parents again and again. And one day their pronunciation is perfect. You can learn English pronunciation the same way. This is what you can do. You take some video or audio recording, which is not very fast and which you understand very well. You listen and you copy what you hear when you hear it. That is all. The Secret of the Stones. Chapter 1. Holiday Time. Laura and Max are twins. They live in London with their mom and dad. They always have interesting adventures on holiday. They visit different cities and countries. This summer they are going to stay in a small cottage in the country. The cottage is in a village called Stone Cross, near Salisbury. Max and Laura aren't very happy. Boring, says Max. He looks at the map. The cottage is in the middle of a field. What can we do in the middle of a field? Why are we going there? Asks Laura. Their dad is very tired. He says he wants to relax and to sleep a lot. Their mom loves the country. She wants to walk and paint. It is a very beautiful part of England, she says, full of culture, tradition, mystery. Mystery, say Max and Laura together. Mystery. Okay, let's go. Chapter 2. Stone Cross. The next day Uncle Stephen and Auntie Barbara arrive. They have lots of suitcases. This year the two families are going on holiday together. Some drives her car. Dad always sleeps. Uncle Stephen and Auntie Barbara follow in their slow, old car. 2 hours later they arrive at Stone Cross and find their cottage in the middle of a field. There are green hills, beautiful cottages, flowers, sheep and cows everywhere. It's lovely, say Max and Laura. It's perfect, say Mom and Auntie Barbara. Dad says nothing. He is sleeping in the car. What do you think? Stephen. Do you like it? Uncle Stephen doesn't answer. He is looking into the distance. His eyes are very black and strange. What's the matter? Stephen asks Auntie Barbara, don't you like the cottage? Yes. It's wonderful, he says. Let's take these suitcases inside. Wake up, Andrew. Dad wakes up. What? Oh. Where are we? We're here at Stone Cross. Come and help. We must take the suitcases into the cottage. They take the suitcases and go inside, but Uncle Stephen waits. He wants to talk to his wife. Barbara, I must tell you something, he says. His voice is very serious. This place. Yes, darling. This place is in my book. Do you remember? The book I am studying about mysteries. But Stephen, that book is very old. It's full of strange codes and secret messages. Exactly. Don't you understand? This is the place where Come on, Barbara. Come on. Stephen shouts Mum from the cottage. We're coming, Uncle Stephen and Auntie Barbara answer. But when they walk to the cottage, their faces are white. They look very worried. Chapter 3. Mr. Carter and Mrs. Black. The cottage is big. There are 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms upstairs. Downstairs there is a big kitchen, a living room and a study. Uncle Stephen wants to use the study. He must finish some work during the holiday. Uncle Stephen is a historian. What does Uncle Stephen do exactly? Laura asks. Her mother replies, he studies history. Max is confused. But I study history too, at school, but it's not my job. Yes, but Uncle Stephen writes books about history. He thinks about history. He tries to understand the things that no one understands. For example, asks Laura. Well, Mum replies, for example, the mystery of Stonehenge. So, what about Stonehenge? What is its mystery? No one really knows. Ask Uncle Stephen. Tomorrow we can go to see it. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. Mum opens it and an old man comes in. He has white hair and an angry face. My name is Carter. He says in an angry voice. I look after this cottage. Is everything okay? There is wood for the fire in the garden. There are sheets and pillows upstairs. If you have a problem, tell me. Have you got any problems? Now Mum remembers. Yes, Mr. Carter is the caretaker. He looks after the cottage when no one is staying in it. Thank you, Mr. Carter. It's very kind of you, but we have no problems. Mr. Carter wants a problem to solve, so he is not very happy. He goes to the door. Then he stops suddenly, turns around and looks at them. Mrs. Black is coming, he says. Mrs. Black is coming soon. Be careful. He opens the door and goes out. What? Asks Mum. Who is Mrs. Black? Asks Max. And why be careful? Is she dangerous? Asks Auntie Barbara. Probably a witch from Stonehenge, says Laura. Everyone laughs. Don't talk about things you don't understand, says Uncle Stephen. There is another knock at the door. They all stop. There is silence in the room. Max opens the door. No one speaks. Hello, everyone, says a happy voice. A woman comes into the cottage. She is quite old, fat, but she is pretty. She has blue eyes, silver earrings, and a big pink face. Hello. My name's Mrs. Black. Mrs. Black is a housekeeper. She helps with the cooking and cleaning. When a family comes for a holiday in the cottage, she helps them. She lives in a different cottage in the village with her son. Mrs. Black is very nice, and they start to relax. Later they eat a big dinner and then say goodbye to their new friend, the housekeeper. They are very tired and soon everyone is sleeping. Everyone but Uncle Stephen. He can't sleep because he is thinking about the book he is studying. Chapter 4. Laura and Max explore the village. On the morning Laura and Max decide to explore the small village of Stone Cross. But, have a nice time. Come home for lunch at 1 o'clock, says their mother. In the square there is a post office, a baker's, a greengrocer's, a news agent, and some other small shops. Let's buy something to drink in this news agent's, says Max, it's very hot. A woman is working in the shop. They say, good morning and smile at the woman, but she does not smile at them. She looks at the twins with cold eyes. You two aren't from Stone Cross. What do you want? The woman is not very friendly. 2 cans of Coke please, says Max, 1.60 pounds. She gives them 2 cans of Coke and they give her the money. The woman's cold eyes do not change. Tourists don't usually come to Stone Cross, she says. Her voice is cold too. It's not a good idea, remember that. Yes. Okay, thank you. Goodbye, says Laura. They run out of the shop very quickly. In the square the sun is shining. Everything is normal again. Wow, there are some strange people in this village, says Max. They walk along another street and suddenly a man appears. He is not very old. He is wearing a dark suit and a tie with a strange design on it. The twins stop, the man smiles. He says, hello, 2 explorers in Stone Cross. Are you on holiday? Are you having a nice time? Yes, thank you, replies Laura. My name's Martin Knight. What are your names? Max and Laura Merrill, they say together. Sometimes twins understand what the other is thinking. Sometimes they speak together. Merrill. Is your father the famous historian, Stephen Merrill? No, he's our uncle, not our father. He's on holiday with us in Stone Cross. Do you know him? The man doesn't answer Max's question. I see Stephen Merrill is here in Stone Cross. Very interesting. And tell me, what is he studying at the moment? Oh, a really old book about mysteries and secrets. Sorry, Mr. Knight. How did it's very late. We must go home and have lunch. Laura stops him. Come on, Max, it's time to go. Can we meet tomorrow? Says Martin Knight. You can tell me about your uncle's old book. Okay, says Max. Come on, Max, says Laura, and the twins go back along the road. Sorry, Max. But I don't like that man. Explains Laura. He wants to know about Uncle Stephen and his hooks. But Uncle Stephen is very famous. Lots of people want to know about him. I know, but this man is different. I can't explain why. Not everyone is strange in Stone Cross. Think of Mrs. Black. She's a nice, normal woman. Yes, you're right. Sorry, but now it's 1:45 and we must go home. Chapter 5, A Visit to Stonehenge. When the twins get home, everyone is waiting for them. Mrs. Black is there too. What do you think of our little village? She asks. The village is lovely. But some of the people are strange. Replies to Laura. Mrs. Black laughs. I know. Don't worry about the people. They don't see many tourists. Not many people come to Stone Cross. Are you ready to go to Stonehenge this afternoon? Asks Annie Barbara. Mrs. Black says, you're going to Stonehenge. It's nothing special. A circle of old stones. That's all. Stonehenge is near the village of Stone Cross. They take the cars and in 20 minutes they are there. Laura suddenly shouts, Look, there it is. There it is. And down in the valley they see Mrs. Black's circle of old stones. It's spectacular, says Uncle Stephen. It's incredible, says Mom. It's magnificent, says Annie Barbara. Wow, says Laura. It's not very big, says Max. Shut up, Max, says everyone. Andrew, what do you think? Do you like Stonehenge? Andrew. Dad doesn't answer. He is sleeping in the car. Andrew, wake up now. This time, Mom is very angry. Around the stones, there is a fence. People can't touch them, but they can go very near and take photographs. Let's get an audio guide, suggests Mom. You listen, and it tells you the story of Stonehenge. Everyone gets an audio guide and they start to walk around the enormous stone circle. Uncle Stephen walks in the opposite direction and looks at his old book of mysteries. He reads something and then looks at the stones. Then he walks away. He looks at the hills and the trees near the stones. 3 hills around the stones. Yes, it is a type of triangle, he says to himself. Then he looks at the stones again. Uncle Stephen is thinking. Half an hour later, the others return. Stonehenge is fantastic, they say, but Uncle Stephen is not listening. He is reading his book again and looking at the stones and the hills around them. Time for something to drink, says Mom. They all walk to the small cafe near the tourist shop. Come on, Stephen. Are you coming with us? Finally, Uncle Stephen puts his book in his bag and follows the others.
Welcome to English with Ollie. A young man was standing in the middle of the town, proclaiming that he had the most beautiful heart in the whole valley. A large crowd gathered and they all admired his heart, for it was perfect. There was not a mark or a flaw in it, but an old man appeared at the front of the crowd and said, "Your heart is not nearly as beautiful as mine." The crowd and the young man looked at the old man's heart. It was beating strongly, but full of scores. It had places where pieces had been removed and other pieces put in. But did it not fit quite right, and there were several jagged edges? The young man looked at the old man's heart and laughed. "You must be joking," he said. "Compare your heart with mine. Mine is perfect and yours a mess of scores and tears." "Yes," said the old man. "Yours is perfect looking, but I would never trade with you. You see, every score represents a person to whom I have given my love. I tear out a piece of my heart and give it to them, and often they give me a piece of their heart, which fits into the empty place in my heart. But because the pieces are not exact, I have some rough edges. Sometimes I have given pieces of my heart away, and the other person has not returned a piece of his heart to me. These are the empty gauges. Giving love is taking a chance. Although these gauges are painful, they stay open, reminding me of the love I have for these people too. And I hope someday, they may return and fill the space I have waiting. So now do you see what true beauty is?" The young man stood silently with tears running down his cheeks. He walked up to the old man, reached into his perfect young and beautiful heart and ripped a piece out. He offered it to the old man. The old man took his offering, placed it in his heart, and then took a piece from his old scared heart and placed it in the wound in the young man's heart. It fit, but not perfectly, as there were some jagged edges. The young man looked at his heart, not perfect anymore but more beautiful than ever. His love from the old man's heart followed into his.
The Lion and the Rabbit. A cruel lion lived in the forest. Every day, he killed and ate a lot of animals. The other animals were afraid the lion would kill them all. The animals told the lion, "Let's make a deal. If you promise to eat only one animal each day, then one of us will come to you every day. Then you don't have to hunt and kill us." The plan sounded well thought out to the lion, so he agreed, but he also said, "If you don't come every day, I promise to kill all of you the next day." Each day after that, one animal went to the lion so that the lion could eat it. Then, all the other animals were safe. Finally, it was the rabbit's turn to go to the lion. The rabbit went very slowly that day, so the lion was angry when the rabbit finally arrived. The lion angrily asked the rabbit, "Why are you late?" "I was hiding from another lion in the forest. That lion said he was the king, so I was afraid." The lion told the rabbit, "I am the only king here. Take me to that other lion, and I will kill him." The rabbit replied, "I will be happy to show you where he lives." The rabbit led the lion to an old well in the middle of the forest. The well was very deep with water at the bottom. The rabbit told the lion, "Look in there. The lion lives at the bottom." When the lion looked in the well, he could see his own face in the water. He thought that was the other lion. Without waiting another moment, the lion jumped into the well to attack the other lion. He never came out. All of the other animals of the forest were very pleased with the rabbit's clever trick.
Welcome to Listen and Practice. Today, Alina will tell you about her new house. In this video, you'll learn some useful vocabulary and phrases that are commonly used in everyday conversations. This will also be a great opportunity for you to practice and improve your English listening and speaking skills. Listen carefully. My new house. Hi, I'm Claire. Last year, my dad got promoted at his job, but we had to move to a new city called Springfield. Dad decided that this would be our permanent place because he plans on retiring there someday. At first, I was a little nervous, but I also felt excited about our new house. We looked for the perfect house, and we found one. It felt just right for us. It's in a nice neighborhood, not too busy, but full of friendly people. Our new house has 3 bedrooms. My parents have one. I have my own. And so does my brother, Jack. My room is my favorite place. It's where I read, play, and spend time with Roxy, my cute cat. There's more in our house. We have a cozy living room where my family and I hang out every evening. We watch TV, play games, and talk about our day. Our kitchen is where my mom makes tasty food. It always smells good in there. Dad has his own room, too. It's quiet with lots of books. He works and enjoys reading there. Outside, we have a pretty lawn with flower beds. My dad takes care of it. He mows the lawn every month and seems to really enjoy it. My neighbors are exceptionally friendly. I made a new friend here. Her name is Grace. She lives nearby and has a dog named Lucky. She walks Lucky every evening. When she sees me, she smiles and says hi. Lucky and Roxy like each other. Often, they are seen playing together when Grace and I chat. Grace and I became close friends. She is so kind to me. I'm excited about living here. I feel really happy. I love my new house, not just because it's pretty, but because it's where we have fun, make friends, and spend time together as a family. It's our home and it's full of new stories and adventures.